So today I have the ability to connect with my dear friend Maxine. Maxine's in Switzerland right now, and a lot of this whole period of coronavirus, I've been wanting to find out what is going on in Switzerland. What is it really like from somebody living there? And I've only been texting back and forth with everybody. And so we're going to connect with her really fast today and get the real inside scoop as to what is really happening in Switzerland right now, March 30th in Switzerland, March 31st here in New Zealand. So let's quickly connect with Maxine. Hey, there she is. Hi, Maxine.
Hello.
How are you?
Good to see you.
Good to see you as well. I'm so excited to get to know a little bit more information as to what's really going on in Switzerland. I was saying, I've been texting you and I've been texting a few other people, but I still don't have the full scoop of what's really going on, what it's really like living, during the coronavirus in Switzerland. And so I'm really excited to hear what you have to say. So tell us, I guess first, what was it like when all of this first started happening?
Well, it's like we're on our third week of lockdown now. So in the beginning, it kind of was like a little bit surreal. It's like being in a dream. Kids were talking about it. You could see stuff on the news. And then there started to be rumors that they might close the schools. And we were like, what? You're joking? They're going to close the schools. And it was like...
And you have 3 kids. So what are the ages of your kids?
So Grace is 14, Phoebe is 10, and Jude is 11. So, best part of the day sometimes is when they all go to school.
This is good. Now you've got a taste of what homeschooling's really like, right?
I never wanted to be a homeschooler. I've said to you before, Chantel, how do you do it? How do you do it? I was like, because it's like they go to school and you're just like, oh yes, it's like my time, get on with everything you've got to do. But it didn't seem real in the beginning, to be honest, because it was just rumors. And then we got these official emails from all the teachers saying, for after Friday, schools are all closed. And we were just like, what? And it said, further notice. So it took them about a week for the teachers. So they said, look, have a holiday. But even then, the kids were like, oh, great. We can all meet up with our friends. We can go to McDonald's.
Vacation time. Woohoo.
Yeah,
this is going to be fun.
Let's get together, party. And so no one was taking it seriously. And Grace is like, can I go out with my friends? And we're like, yeah, I guess, And then it kind of got more serious very quickly. So for that first week, I'd say the first couple of days, then parents started texting around saying, they shouldn't be in groups. They were going up to the school to play because now there was no school, but now they're all going to play together. And then that very quickly got closed down. It was like, no. We had I have a Friday morning prayer thing with ladies coming to my house. We had that and we sat there. We had breakfast together. We were all talking, praying. And we were like, well, we thought, well, maybe we'll see each other next Friday. And then it very quickly changed to lockdown.
Now, did a lot of the people, like Joanne, she's in the medical, you said, so she kind of has maybe her foot in the door with a little bit of no, but at this point, did you know how severe it was, or was it just still kind of hitting everybody like this is now really
severe? I don't think we did, because it was like the children were all told this is a virus that does not affect children and it's only affecting old people. So I think so that they wouldn't be scared. The schools were, but then when they closed the schools, then it was like, well, we're doing this because we don't want the kids to then infect their grandparents. But then it was like, if you close the schools, the kids are going to have to be looked after by the grandparents. So it kind of went slowly, but then suddenly when it went to lockdown, when all our shops were closed, all the restaurants, like we went out for dinner on the Sunday before, and we were allowed to be 50 people in a restaurant. So we sat out by the lake and had a meal. And Tony and I said to each other, right, let's make the most of this just in case the restaurants close. But we didn't really think they would.
Oh, really?
So
So you kind of knew,
2 weeks,
right?
like 2.5 weeks, 3 weeks ago, we didn't think it was going to. And then the very next day, all restaurants, all pubs closed. And then I think it was another week, and then it went to only 5 people together at one time. And then it went to, you should only be around your house. Because we thought, oh, we'll go travel around Switzerland.
Yeah, exactly, right? It'll be fine. You can go to the parks, the hikes,
But to be honest with you, first of all, when we heard the schools were closing, we thought we'll do a few trips.
Wow.
And we were looking, and we thought we'll go up to Europa Park, we'll book in there, and we'll make the most of this. It'll probably be over soon. And then we realized, oh my gosh, they're closing all the borders. We're not going to be able to get up to Germany. I was supposed to fly to England. My sister's having a baby. That's not going to happen. So little by little, it was like, okay.
So what is the overall, and you might not know this, but what is the overall mentality of the people? Or is it a little bit getting more hopeful knowing that like a lot of it has come, or is it still like everyone's bracing themselves for the storm, or what is?
Yeah, I think because of Italy and the sheer amounts and how quickly it went, like, you know, and the amount of people that are dying each day, and it just escalated. So I think for Switzerland, they're kind of, no one yet is saying no new cases. I think it's kind of more like a couple of weeks away from where they say each country does a peak. But I don't know. They're doing testing. Everyone's doing what they're being told. So I think there's just under 300 deaths here.
300?
Just under 300 deaths. But if you compare to Italy, where it's in the thousands, but Italy has way more people. Here it's only, 8 million. So in comparison to how small the country is, I think there's a lot infected, but so we're not hearing horror stories around where we live. So I don't know people personally.
Yeah.
So it's still a little bit, you feel a bit isolated from it.
That's good. I was going to ask you though, in Switzerland, I don't know, this may have changed, but in the beginning, they weren't testing people if they had symptoms, if they were under the age of 65. Is that correct?
I think I read something that they would only keep the testing for the most vulnerable. Which
so they
would be
they were trying to save the amount of tests they had. There was also a higher fee. In some countries they're just testing everyone for free, whereas in Switzerland,
we've not heard anything about free testing, and we've not been offered anything. So, like, I was supposed to go for a hospital appointment, just like a 6-monthly thing, and I got a call today cancelling it and just saying, are you okay? Yes, I'm fine. And they rescheduled for June.
Yeah.
So
yeah, I wonder how long so for the lockdown and such with the schools, what are they saying when it might reopen? Or is, if they're expecting the peak in maybe 2 weeks time, are they expecting maybe in 4 weeks time schools to resume and businesses to open up? Or is there no real concrete answer on that yet?
Well, I think there was like a date of around the 19th of April, but our schools go on Easter. They have 2 weeks off starting around the 5th of April, I think it is. So we're on half term soon anyway. So we don't know yet if the schools are going to say, well, you had a week's holiday where you were just home, but no one can go anywhere anyway, even though it's Easter break.
Right.
So I don't know if by the end of Easter break, if they will then know, have the cases stopped, has it calmed down? But I don't know how that will work with other countries, because Italy and Spain are being hit really badly. So I don't know if they're expecting that for Switzerland.
It's so hard to tell what's going to happen. I think just we just have to wait to see how it all pans out.
That's what people are saying, is like, take one day at a time.
Yeah.
And it kind of, the days are rolling in, like we're on our third week. So it kind of, each day goes into the next day, and it's like Groundhog Day.
Yeah, Groundhog Day, the same thing over there. But do you guys have somewhat of a schedule, and how has it been coping with, like, all of a sudden having your husband and 3 kids all together in the house, you know?
Yeah, the first week was rough, and the dynamics, and then you're like, gosh, because usually if you're home like that all the time, it's just a weekend. Then
Right.
Monday comes and you all disperse and get on with your regular routine. But Monday came, everyone's still there. And the sort of one of the big shocks is you are doing nothing but cooking.
Cooking and dishes and cooking and dishes. But you know what? I have the 3 girls, and you would not believe Chloe's taken on the role. Every day she's like, I'm making lunch, I'm doing the dishes,
Oh,
and she
really?
made dinner yesterday. Yes. And I'm like, I think she
Wow.
realizes that mom has a lot to do. You know, I'm playing catch up on a lot of stuff. And so she's just like, I'll do this, and she's bored. So she's having fun with it, you know? It's hilarious.
That's great. I haven't got
it.
them cooking yet. I'm working on getting them tidying up after them, because when they just run back off to school, you know, off they go, you tidy up and you get on with it, right? But thankfully I'm not doing a full-time job at home. So there are a lot of people who are now having to juggle a full-time job and they're homeschooling their kids.
Yeah.
Which, that's hectic.
Yeah.
So, and I have Tony home, so he's helping the kids with the homeschooling. He's being brilliant with that, because I mean, we're having to do it all in French.
Oh my gosh, I didn't even think of that. That's right. So Tony, for those of you watching, Tony is from South Africa and Maxine is from the UK. And so their mother tongue, of course, is English. And so now you have to understand all the lessons and help and aid your kids. Wow, that's crazy.
In French. And, you know, so it's like our French level is basic anyway. So it adds on another pressure. However, Google Translate is wonderful. But we're getting by, you know. Everyone's just take one day at a time, and you just muddle through, and the teachers are contacting them through Zoom and through WhatsApp, and they have groups, and they're being sent lessons and they have to send it back. And so I think we'll only know at the end of this if their education has really suffered, and how much catch up there'll be, and depending on how long they're out of school. But I now have a, you know, new appreciation for homeschool mothers.
Thank you. It's just wild and crazy. But you know what? You just have to kind of throw everything and go, oh, whatever happens, happens. If not, it's too stressful to have that pressure. I remember when I first started, it was just, there's just so much pressure involved because you want your kids to succeed. And then I was at a point where I just let it all go and just like, well, whatever happens, happens. I know that's not the greatest way to think about it, but it just relieved the pressure of it all. And I figured if we're a bit behind on one subject, it's okay. They'll be more advanced here. And we just go with it, you know? So
when something like this happens, it's kind of the last thing you're worrying about. Is like, I've got elderly parents in England. Tony's got elderly parents in South Africa. My sister's about to give birth to a baby, and there are other things, and it just puts everything in perspective. You're just like, oh, schoolwork, yes, it's important, but you've gone into a different kind of mode. You just kind of, but I think it will depend how long this goes on, because 3 weeks, you know, it's like, okay, we're just doing week after week, but the longer it carries on, let's hope it finishes quicker than we think it's going to.
Yeah, I really hope so as well, for everyone's sake. And that's it, you know, everyone, like you're saying, you have elderly parents on both sides, and in your case, you're not even close to them. So it's not like you can be there. And that's what we saw in Italy, right? Is a lot of people dying alone, and that's a really scary thought. So it's hard to, you know, we have a Christian background as you do. And so we have what we call faith, right? So we have this like hope and faith that kind of a lot of the world maybe can't understand how you can be still in the midst of a storm like that. But for those people who don't have that, anxiety can easily set in. And even for people who have faith and believe in such and have hope, the anxiety can quickly set into your thought process. And especially for me in the beginning, I was watching a lot of the news, so we were following it really closely for quite some time, since January, because we were traveling and seeing what was happening in different countries. And after a while of watching and seeing all of it over and over again, you start to get affected mentally by the whole thing, and it's really hard and heavy. Like, I would be going to sleep and all of a sudden my heart was racing because I was like having almost like anxiety, and I was like, oh my gosh, because the reality sets in. It's no longer like this is just some little thing, and you see what people are going through around the world, and it's really hard to deal with, right? It's heavy on your heart. So what would your thoughts be on that, or advice or encouragement?
I think like when you start to see the images on the television and it brings it home, because you're in a bubble otherwise, aren't you? Yeah. But I think it's having that contact with your parents and not having any regrets. So, I've changed my phone plan, so I'm calling my dad every day and just having a chat with him, asking him how he is, making sure my mum's okay. We had to organize Meals on Wheels for my dad. He's blind and he sits in not a care home, but he needs carers to come in. But suddenly we couldn't get food for him because the online shopping, you couldn't do online shopping. So suddenly you can't get food into your parents who need the food, and he can't go out and shop. So it was organising Meals on Wheels so that he has a hot meal come in once a day, but not having any regrets or unresolved issues with your parents. I've been on a journey with my relationship with my own dad, and coming to a place where if they were to go very quickly, you've said everything you wanted to say. Every time I speak to him on the phone, I'm like, Dad, I love you. You take care. And, and then I'm calling you tomorrow. And the same with my mum, because the worst thing with this is if they were to go quickly, you don't get to fly over. You don't get to sit with them in the hospital. You don't get to do the natural steps that you would. So some of the stories you hear where people are losing loved ones, they can't be there with them.
Yeah.
So I think when you've got them far away, and like our parents in South Africa, ringing them, speaking, using like we're doing Zoom, so that you've got that connection.
Mm-hmm.
And that, I think, you sort of prepare your heart in a way. But like you said, it does help when you have faith in God and you know that this is, well, for my dad, he's an atheist, but, he said he's sure there's a lot of old people that are just ready to go. That was his thing, was like, some of us, we're ready.
Oh, wow. That's great.
But it isn't the ideal circumstances. You want your family around you.
Yeah.
And he's in isolation. So like the people in England, the old people, they can't even visit each other.
Yeah, it must be really challenging. We think, we're going through isolation and we're dealing with our kids or our husband who we can't get along with, or all these crazy things. But really, we've got it really good, if you were to put everything into perspective and realize what people are going through. And just, people not only in isolation, but some people are totally alone and maybe don't have access to a computer right now, or internet, in some countries, we're talking about different countries in Africa starting to shut down. I mean, it's just, and they don't even have freezers or fridges for their food. Our problems are very little when you put it into perspective, but I think it's a worldwide, but it's really, we're going through easy times, if you will, compared to a lot of people, right? So
yeah, we definitely are. And I think the fear, like you said, fear can grip you the more you focus on it, because if you say to yourself, look, we are healthy, we're a young family, we're very blessed, we, you know, when you look at it that way, but because the news, you're just hearing all of the horror stories. Like, people have been posting 950 people in Italy went home, you know, they did recover, but they never report that. You're just hearing of the tragedy, so you're not hearing the other side.
Right.
And you need to hear the hope. You know, you need to hear that people are recovering, and there's a lot of people that, you know, like you were saying, you thought you might have had it when you were on the boat.
Yeah, isn't that wild? Well, because we were, you know, what's really crazy, I don't know how much I shared with you, but we were on a cruise, so that was back in December. And, you know, we had interaction with the world. So, of course, there was people from China there, and the whole world was there really on the ship. And they were adamant about making sure everyone was cleaning their hand. They had people at the entrance to the restaurants telling you, go wash your hands, washing you, like making sure you did it correctly and everything like that. And I thought, wow, that's really strict, you know, and without maybe realizing, maybe they had some insight as to what was happening before the rest of the world. Who knows? I don't know still. But we were on the ship, and a young girl actually died. And we knew about this because we were, you know, talking to the directors, the cruise directors and stuff, right when they were blocking off the one area, and I was asking her. So she basically shared with me, but we still don't know, you know, how this young girl died. You know, she basically got sick and had predisposed, you know, things. But then right shortly after, Chloe was so sick and I was so sick, and it was one of these flus that we just couldn't knock off, and it was, you could feel it in your lungs, and your lungs were sore, like it would hurt to cough. And for 2 weeks after that, every day I had a headache. And I thought, you know, after the fact, when we started finding out in January about this, I thought, I wonder if we had, you know, that virus. You don't know, right? I guess.
No, you don't.
So,
you don't. My girls were really sick, Grace and Phoebe, before, and they don't get sick. And it was a similar kind of thing where it was, because we didn't know about it then, you just assumed they've got flu. And it was on the chest, and you don't know. Some people are trying to trace when, and they were like, I haven't been with anyone for this many days, and they did get diagnosed. So we don't know. But it can take as long as a month. So there was some talk of stuff happening in Italy, Spain, of people being infected, but it taking an entire month before that they actually died. So
right.
You're looking at 4 weeks of, I don't know, of how long or it could take to develop into pneumonia. Is that what you mean? I think that's what some of the countries that aren't taking it seriously yet, like there are pictures, aren't there, with beaches full of people. I think what they've realized here in Europe is how quickly it changes. And like when it went from all of us being fine, and then suddenly within a week it changed drastically. So it's a very quick thing.
Right. Wow. Yeah, that's the scary part for me about the United States, is that a lot of people are just out doing their business as usual, not with the realization. I think they are now. They're really starting to get hit hard and starting to realize. But within like a month ago, it was like, oh, we're fine. No one's affected. It only is from over there, you know. And that's the realization, I think, that everyone goes through this process of like, oh, it's just the news hyping it up and it's not going to affect us and we're young and healthy and this and that, to like, then it starts to hit home and then you start to see. And I think there's so many, you know, now with what happened in Italy and such, everyone should be in the realization of how serious this is. But I was really surprised to see countries like the UK only taking action much further on, and them being such a proximity to, you know, all of the rest of Europe. And what do you think about Sweden right now? I mean, Sweden's just doing business as usual. They haven't shut anything down. Everyone's going to work. Everyone's going to school. And then you got Denmark right beside that is in complete lockdown. I mean, I'm like, okay, well, this will be a really good test to see.
That's what I said to my husband too. You know, it's like, my mum is Swedish and she was over there visiting. And they're taking a completely different approach, and you think, well, this is going to be interesting because we won't know, will we? We will only know.
I'm actually, it sounds awful to say this, but I'm actually not, I know the word excited is not right. I'm actually interested to see how it's all going to plan out. Yesterday, I was calculating the numbers, how many people live in the country, how many people would be affected, and how many people could die. And then what's the, economic impact, and then realize, okay, so this many people died, but everything else is intact, versus all the other countries, all the economies are going to be crashed, and then they save so many lives. And then from a government perspective, how they look at that. But it's just mind-boggling that they're still all functioning and open to me.
I know. And whether that changes, I don't know. I don't know how many cases Sweden has.
I don't know. I'm going to have to find someone in Sweden to interview.
Yeah. I don't know. But it is interesting. I mean, my mum was there and it was life as normal.
Yeah.
There wasn't, getting back into the UK, she only just got in before lockdown. But no, Sweden, it's taking a very different approach. But I was speaking to somebody from Canada, and they said that all the Walmarts are open in Canada, even though there is the social distancing, but you can still buy whatever you need to buy. Whereas here, they've like bubble wrapped everything that isn't food.
Really?
So if you go into the co-op, you can't touch how you can get the socks and the pajamas, like that. That's all bubble wrapped up. The toys, all of that. I don't know why.
I wonder why, because you would think that, like, I would think Walmart is open. For those of you watching that don't know what Walmart is, it's basically a big, huge supermarket with everything, food and everything else, toys, everything. So the fact that, why would they bubble wrap in Switzerland all the different items? That's interesting, because, I mean, it's in the store, so why not let people buy it, right?
I know. Well, I haven't worked that out yet, because if you go to a garden centre, like people, it's beautiful weather here. Today hasn't been nice, but otherwise spring is here. So people want to do their gardens. They're stuck in the garden. But you go to a shop and you're only allowed in the little bit that sells the food, but right next to it is all the soil, the plants, you're not allowed to touch any of that. I think some people are doing online, and they do like a drive-through, because a friend of mine needed to pick up a strimmer. So you could do a drive-through pickup.
No, that's interesting.
In comparison to Canada, like my friend was saying, no, we can, because they don't want to shut down their economy. Like, well, we can't buy stuff, and online shopping, I think people are. We haven't yet.
Yes,
but
Switzerland's a little bit behind when it comes to online shopping. People still in Switzerland go to the grocery store every day, in typical living life. It's not like in the US where you just click Amazon and you get 1 hour or 2 hour delivery or next day delivery. So it's a very different way of shopping. So it'll be interesting to see what happens with everyone switching their way they're doing it, right? Because they're going to be forced into online shopping, which is good. I like it.
And you know how it is in Switzerland. There's a lot of things we can't get here. You go on Amazon, sorry, we do not deliver to Switzerland.
No. And there's not even a Amazon.ch, it's .fr.de. So you have to order from the neighboring countries' Amazon sites, right? So it's very different.
Exactly.
Yeah. Okay. Interesting. So, okay, just to wrap up, if you were to share some kind of advice to get the message out for those of the people watching that are still just starting to realize what's happening, what would be your little bits and words of wisdom?
Words of wisdom. Probably that I don't know really. I mean, because we've not had a choice. Like, we have been told what to do, and very quickly, and we haven't had the choice. So for us, it's like you're just being obedient and doing it. But then you're realizing when you see Italy and Spain, and we know people in Spain, as you do, and they're on complete lockdown. We're allowed to go for walks. But I think in France, you're not allowed to go on a bicycle. And it becomes, if you don't follow the rules, the country locks down even more. Mm-hmm. So I think it's just to do it, get into your routine quickly. It seems like you don't have to panic shop buy, because after the first week, the shops do bring back food in. So the panic when it first starts, but then it all, you realize, okay, this is more the long term. So get into a routine, get the kids ready that this isn't going to be over quickly, take one day at a time. But we decided to stop listening to the news, especially for the children. We don't have it on. Me and my husband check in once a day, but we do not expose the kids to it. So as far as they're concerned, they're kind of very much protected from it all, which I think is good when they're the age they are. And just trying to keep a routine, and also the atmosphere of the home. Like, we're playing Monopoly. we're trying to have fun together and give each other space, but also have family time. Mm-hmm. And I'd say it takes time, but it gets better and it gets easier. And to having time, that quiet time where you can just reflect and stay in peace, determines the rest of your day. So that would probably, be my advice, is like, if you watch too much and hear too much of the fear and what's going on, it consumes you, because your life has to carry on. And
great. That's good advice. Maxine, thank you so much for taking the time to be with us so late at night over there in Switzerland. We really appreciate it. And
oh no, it's fine. It's good to see you. It's lovely to see your face, and it's strange to think you're so far away. I keep expecting you to pop up, and we're back.
I don't know when we're going to get back. I don't know how long this is going to go, because here they've just started. So I don't know at what point is there going to be flights, that are going to be reasonable pricing wise as well, right? Or, I don't know how this is all going to pan out. So we shall see.
Yeah, we miss you guys, and we look forward to seeing you when we do see you.
Thank you. Me too.